You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. You're listening to Kerry Greenaway and Mark Manley on the Dark Mirror Paranormal Show, only on Parasearch Radio.
Good evening and welcome to the Dark Mirror Paranormal Show. I'm Kerry Greenaway. I'm one of your hosts for this evening, and I'm joined in the studio tonight by the lovely Caz Rooney. Good evening, Caz.
Good evening, Kerry.
How are you? Oh my God.
Great, thank you.
Hold on, your dog. Marley, get off the fucking wire. No, Marley, sorry. Oh my God. Caz, carry on for a second. I've got a dog that's pulling my tail off the bloody desk. Oh my God. Oh my God. That was nearly a disaster. Jesus Christ. Oh my
so
God.
Glad I've got cats.
Oh, it's all going wrong already. We've got fireworks going off around my neighbourhood tonight. And my beautiful dog is petrified and is hiding under the table. And as he went under the table, he dragged all the wires with him and decided to nearly pull my computer off the desk.
You should get something for them to help them. You should get that.
Yes, but I shouldn't have to do it a week before and a week after the event.
Yeah, but you do have selfish people who don't think of that.
I know. But never mind. Yeah. We're not far away from Halloween, and it is all a couple of weeks of celebrations, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all good.
So I can't really moan too much. But never mind, we are here, we are live. We are very, very live. So if you're listening, please join us in the chat room. You could be part of the discussion tonight. Now, tonight we will be joined by Mark Manley, as always. He's just on a little errand for one of his daughters at the moment, and we'll be back soon and joining in to add his mayhem to the studio. Oh dear. So, Caz, what are we talking about tonight?
We are talking about dragons.
Dragons.
Will you stop trying to do a Scottish accent? You can't do it. Dragon.
I do it. I like to have a go, though.
Yeah, you're nearly there, but you've got that little twang when you speak.
A twang.
You've got a little twang and it just knocks it off. We are talking about dragons.
Yes, we are. We are talking all about dragons. Now, we are inundated in not social media, but in media, like on the TV, in books, in, magazines and stuff with dragons around us. Now, I very first came across dragons in a book that I was reading, and the book I read was the Anne McCaffrey books, the Dragons of Pern books. And I love those books, and it really, really encompassed what I now have in my head as imagery about dragons. What about you, Caz?
Do you know what? I can't actually say the first thing I actually read about dragons. I must have been really young, because I've actually collected little dragons for years.
Have you?
I've got little dragons, little dragon ornaments and things. I find them fascinating, but my take on it is they were basically flying dinosaurs.
Flying dinosaurs.
Flying dinosaurs.
Well, I do love the mythology surrounding
Yeah.
dragons. I really, really do. They really sort of like kick into my imagination. And I want a dragon. I've asked for one for Christmas.
Well, if you contacted the makers of Game of Thrones, maybe they could help you.
Well, well, I've actually said I want a real live dragon, not a little baby dragon that lives in a glass cage that eats bugs. So I want a proper dragon, but I might have to move to a cave. I might have to move near a cave so I can house my dragon, and you can imagine the response I got on that one.
So that basically means you're going to move to a cave, leave us with all the radio shows. How does that work?
Yeah, that's true. I'd have to get a radio mast as well, wouldn't I?
It's not happening.
No, I mean, I was laughed at. I was completely. I said I want to ride it and everything. So, yeah, my Christmas list is never easy to follow. So we started looking into dragons. So I'm going to keep trying the whole show. I'm going to keep trying. And so trying to trace right back to where dragons first started in our mythology, because, that's where it all comes from, basically. And really and truly, it was a little difficult. It weren't easy. But it kind of went right back to Sumerian mythology. And I found three. I love this. I take ownership of this, not. I found three mentions of dragons, alleged dragons. From the explanation, you could argue that it was a dragon that was being explained. From the Sumerian mythology. Now, this goes to the 4th and the 3rd millennium BC. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a little confusing, I have to say. But basically, this goddess girl, Erish Kigel, I can't pronounce names. This is where Mark hits the truth here. Was carried off violently into the netherworld by Kerr, who is supposed alleged dragon, and this geezer, or guy, or man, or however you wish to explain him, called Enki, fought Kerr from a boat. Now, Kerr fought back savagely with stones of all sizes, so basically chucked stones at him, and attacked Enki's boat with the primeval waters which it controlled. Now, the guy who wrote this didn't actually tell us much more about the dragon part in that. Left us all a bit hanging. I mean, we assume that Enki wins because he's in the rest of the poem, whereas Kerr isn't. So at this point, we kind of assume that Enki... But it is the traditional girl in distress or damsel in distress. Knight comes to the rescue, slays said dragon.
Yeah.
Isn't it, this tale?
Yeah, it's such a Disney thing, isn't it?
It is a Disney thing. Yeah. See, Disney love a dragon, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Even, was it in Snow White, the Wicked Witch turns into a dragon, doesn't she?
Yeah, I think so.
At the end? Or am I getting my Disney's muddled
No,
up?
hang on a minute, no. No. No, I don't think it was. I don't think she turned into a dragon. I think she just died.
Did she? I can't remember. All my Disneys sort of merge into one. But there was one of them that turned into a dragon at end. Now, the second part of the Sumerian is basically the feats and exploits of Ninurta. Now, in this version, Ninurta is the warrior god. He's the hero. His personified weapon, which is Shara, kisses up to him in a drawn-out speech extolling the heroic qualities and deeds of Ninurta to convince him to go after Kerr, said dragon, and destroy Kerr. But what the alleged weapon, Shara, or whatever the name is not really clear why Shara wants old Ninurta to go against the dragon. We're not quite sure why. I found this about the Sumerian legends. They left out a lot of detail.
Okay.
But then again, this is translation, and whether or not it might have got lost in translation.
Which is highly likely, really, isn't it?
I would think so. I agree with you on that one. Now, Ninurta leaves to do what he's been told to do and finds himself, I love this one, finds himself lacking and flees like a bird.
Oh.
Although Weapon Shara won't let it go and carries on nagging at Ninurta, and basically Ninurta then goes and attacks Kerr with all the weapons at his command. Now, and then Kerr is allegedly completely destroyed at this. There were some words that this weapon used, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Talking sword, I reckon. We all love a talking sword. Oh, it was the sword in the stone. Thank you, James.
You're going back to Disney again.
Sorry, I've gone back to Disney. This is where my education with dragons sort of like, my knowledge is really bad with this. So anyway, now things fall apart once Kerr is destroyed. Now, the waters of the Netherworld, which Kerr had been in control of, rise to the surface so violently that no fresh water can reach the fields and gardens. So basically, what's his name, Ninurta, didn't actually do much good, did he, by killing Kerr?
Sounds like he done more damage.
Well, yeah. I mean, the passage was like famine was severe, nothing was produced. The small rivers were not cleaned, the dirt was not carried off. On the steadfast fields no water was sprinkled, there was no digging of ditches. In all the lands there were no crops, only weeds grew. Thereupon the Lord set his lofty mind. Ninurta, the son of Enlil, brings great things into being. And then Ninurta then piles up stones over the dead body of Kerr and keeps piling them up until he has a great wall in front of the land. The wall blocked and held back the raging waters, stopping the waters of the lower regions, the Netherworld, from rising to the surface of the earth. Now, at least he put right what he did wrong, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then basically Ninurta gathered up the waters that had already flooded the land and led them into the Tigris, which can now overflow and water the fields. So he sort of tried to put it back after the damage he caused. Can you imagine? Yay, I've slain said dragon. And then, oh God, what have I done? How am I going to put this right?
Yeah.
Hell of a lot more work to do.
Yeah. It'd been better just leaving the dragon.
You should have left poor old Kerr alone, is what I reckon. Now, the third version of slaying of the dragon myth can be found in Anna and Ibi, which is, and we're not going to read this, okay, so just don't worry, guys, we're not going to read this to you. A 190-line poem.
Wow.
That's some poem.
Yeah.
Now, the dragon slayer in this version of the story is a goddess. Yay! Big up the girls. Inanna, she's curiously known, actually, as both the goddess of love and the goddess of battle and strife, which a lot of men would agree with. Love, battle, goes hand in hand. Some would say.
Well, true, they would, but...
I reckon she was married.
Yeah, she's got to be married.
Oh, dear, bless her. Now, she is also referred to in many Sumerian hymns, such as the Destroyer of Kerr. Now, basically, it goes on and on about how wonderful Inanna is, and then basically she goes forward and kills said dragon. Everyone thinks she's wonderful, and she has a spear and she throws the spear and it kills the dragon. And this is sort of like the first time that Kerr is described more as a dragon than the other two Sumerian tales.
Yeah.
But she's very, like, self-glorifying.
Well, do you not think maybe in that time she would need to be?
Well, quite possibly. I don't know. But I do think it's a bit like, oh, I'm so great. I'm so amazing. I've killed the dragon, you know. I mean, as I say, it's a huge poem. I've really paraphrased it. I've really not even told you much of said poem. But it's the first reference to a fire-breathing dragon, basically, is in the Inanna version. rather than any of the others. Now, the other earliest references are actually all about Greek dragons. Now, the Greeks loved a dragon. There's hundreds of them. There are loads and loads. I found so many.
Yeah.
And the first type of Greek dragon was the drakon, whose name was derived from the Greek words of drake in and drakome, which means to see clearly or to gaze sharply, which distills down to basically drakon rather than dragon. But that's the Greek version. But literally, they pop up in so many, the myths and legends of Greek, of the Greeks are just absolutely astonishing.
Yeah, there is a lot of them.
A lot.
There is an awful lot.
I mean, one of them, they've all got different names as well. This is what I found fascinating about the Greek legends about dragons was, there's literally a whole dictionary, I think. So let's talk about a few. Let's go with the first one, which is the Colchian drakon, or drakon kolkikos. Kolkikos. Do you want to tell me about that one, Kaz?
An unseen dragon which guarded the golden fleece in the sacred grove of the heirs of Colchis. The creature was bewitched by Medea so that the hero Jason could steal its treasure. Jason,
yeah. See,
Jason.
Yeah, Jason and the
It's
golden
not-
fleece. Did you not see the?
Yeah, but it's not very Greekish, is it? Greek
What,
name.
Jason, the name. It's a very Greek name. We've nicked it from the Greeks and made it our own. We
Yeah,
did a lot of that.
Yeah, we probably did.
Yeah, Jason, sorry, mate, you are not Greek enough for our liking. Now, Jason the Golden Fleece is is a really famous story, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And so there was a dragon in that, and on my tarot cards actually, in the wand section, that plays out the story of Jason, and and the dragon is actually part of that because I work with the Greek mythology deck, and that's actually one of the stories. It's to do with work and labours, not women labours, you understand, but
Yeah, I understand.
labours. Now, another dragon, which terrorised the island of Salamis, was driven out by the hero Cycreus, and it fled to Eleusis, where it became an attendant of the goddess Demeter.
Ooh.
Now, Demeter, again, another famous character in Greek mythology, she apparently had a pair of winged dragons which drew the chariot, which drew her chariot.
Okay.
And she gave her chariot to the hero, Triptolemus, to carry him across the world spreading knowledge of agriculture.
That was nice of her.
I know, she's really nice.
Yeah.
Now there's a big one, Gigantomachian Drakon, otherwise known as Drakon Gigantomachios. I tell you, I should go to Greece. I'm racking these out. And now this was a dragon which was cast at the goddess Athena during the Giant War. Now, good old Athena, she caught this dragon and threw it into the sky, where it formed the constellation of Draco. I didn't know there was a constellation called Draco.
I didn't actually.
I know. I'm going to have to find out a little bit more about that one, 'cause I don't even know where in the sky it is. It might be a southern hemisphere. Oh, see, I don't even know if we get northern, southern hemispheres. Oh my God, you can tell it's Friday, can't you? Because
You're rattling out all these Greek names with no problem when you can't get out hemispheres.
Well, I'm in Greece now. My head's in Greece. I can't do English and Greece at the same time. Now, Hesperian Drakon, or Drakon Hesperios, was 100-headed dragon. Now, that's a lot of heads, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, they guarded the golden apples of Hesperides, and it was slain by Heracles when he came to fetch the treasure as one of his 12 labours. Now, again, a really, really famous story of Greek mythology is the story of the 12 labours of Heracles. And we can't forget Hydra. If you watched Hercules, the legendary journeys of Hercules, that is in the opening sequence, Hydra.
Yeah.
Now, she was a 9-headed, they loved heads in Greece. Oh, God, that sounded wrong. Oh, my God. They like lots of heads in Greece. She was, I'm going to just carry on. A 9-headed water dragon, which guarded the springs of Lerna. It possessed the power of, see, I'm like this, and Mark's not even here. It possessed the power of regeneration, producing 2 new heads for each that was decapitated. Now, the creature was eventually destroyed by Heracles, who cauterized its neck stumps with a flaming torch. I bet it weren't no normal flaming torch. I bet he had a special one.
Yeah, it's got to be.
That must have been given to him by Zeus or somebody.
He does a lot of slaying of dragons, doesn't he?
Heracles or Hercules did. Yeah, it's the same person. It's just depends on who you speak to.
Yeah.
Basically.
He was basically the dragon slayer.
He was. He went around slaying all these dragons. Now, one of the common things about dragons, apparently, is once you have slain your said dragon, you take the teeth out and you put them in the earth.
Yeah.
Which is then supposed to reap a crop of earthborn warriors. So you can build your own army if you slay a dragon.
That's handy.
Yeah. I mean, it is quite handy. You have to be quite careful.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Good evening, Stephanie. She's joined us in the chat room. They're calling me out for getting my words out. Now, apparently, you can get your own. But I would like to argue this point. If you have brave enough and strong enough and big enough and, all the heroic enough to slay a dragon, yeah?
Yeah.
Surely you don't need any more warriors?
Yeah, but you could train them to do the same thing. When you think about it.
You could.
And then you can go and have a sleep and leave them to slay the dragons. Could do that.
Yeah, you could do that, couldn't you?
Yeah.
You could do that, definitely. Good evening, Cheryl. Cheryl McGregor is in the studio as well. No, she's not in the studio, she's in the chat room. And she says the Draco constellation, which we were talking about earlier, is in the northern hemisphere in between Ursa Minor and Ursa Major. Thank you, Cheryl, because constellations and sky watching is not my bag, really. It really isn't my forte. I get so confused. If it wasn't a turtle moon, I wouldn't have a clue about moon phases either. That's all I'm saying. Now, so that particular, the sowing the teeth in the earth to reap a crop of earthborn warriors, comes up again a bit later on. So hold that thought, everybody, because that actually comes up a bit later on. Now, there is the Maoan Dracon, which was a dragon which ravaged the kingdom of Lydia. And it, again, good old Hercules or Heracles, he slain this one too. He was like a one-man bandit of killing dragons, wasn't he?
He really didn't like them, did he?
Well, I just think they maybe poor old dragons had a bit of a bad rap, really, didn't they?
Yeah, a bit. Just a bit.
I mean, the tales in Greece go on and on and on. There are hundreds of them. Yeah, there were so many. It really was. When we looked at the Greek mythology, well, there was loads. There were loads put to places. There were loads in mythology of Greece. It just went on, and even to the point where the Trojan Draconis was a pair of dragons sent by the god Poseidon to destroy Laocoon of Troy and his sons when he attempted to warn his people of the threat posed by the wooden horse. So even in that, there's dragons.
Yeah.
So it shows you that this mythology of dragons really, really, really sort of like was a huge part of this, and how you can understand how it's come forward through time, can't you? how it catches the imagination.
Yeah, you can.
That's the point I always think. It catches the imagination. I mean, it really, really does. Now, most of, throughout history, they are sort of like, they have a very two-sided, sometimes they're very useful and protective dragons, or sometimes they're harmful and dangerous. So there's a very different idea about dragons as well, isn't there? That they're nasty, horrible things that you must kill and destroy, or they help you and they're great and they're wonderful.
Well, see, it's that part of that thing though, because they're depicted as being these fire-breathing monsters that kill people, or they're depicted as being protective. So
yeah, I mean, it did change a little bit when Christianity spread across the world. I mean, that definitely took the dragons on more of a decidedly sinister interpretation, and apparently it came to represent Satan. In medieval times, most people who heard anything about dragons knew them from the Bible, and it's likely that most Christians at the time believed in the literal existence of dragons. I mean, in Leviathan, the massive monster described in detail in the book of Job, in chapter 41, seems to describe a dragon in detail. Now, do you want to read this, Caz?
sure. I will not fail to speak of Leviathan's limbs, its strength and its graceful form. Who can strip off its outer coat? Who can penetrate its double coat of armour? Who dares open the doors of its mouth, ringed with the fearsome teeth? Its back has rows of shields tightly sealed together. Each is so close to the next that no air can pass between. They are joined fast to one another. They cling together and cannot be parted. Its snorting throws out flashes of light. Its eyes are like rays of dawn. Flames stream from its mouth. Sparks of fire shoot out. Smoke pours from its nostrils as from a boiling pot over burning reeds. Its breath sets coals ablaze and flames dart from its mouth. The belief in dragons was based not just in legend, but also in hard evidence, or so it seemed. For millennia, no one knew what to make of the giant bones that were occasionally unearthed around the globe, and dragons seemed a logical choice for people who had no knowledge of dinosaurs. See?
Yeah, I have to say, that probably is where a lot of the mythology comes from, in the more modern times.
Yeah.
You know, because they get these massive bones and they look, when you think about the skeletons of dinosaurs, they kind of look dragony, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
But there was also, like, if you've never seen anything, you know, like a dragon, you could be, and the only thing you've got to go on is mythology or legend or what's said to you in the Bible. Isn't that an immediate jump in assumption, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit.
Now, folklorist Carol Rose, in her book Giants, Monsters and Dragons, she said that dragons have composite features from many other beasts, such as, depending on where you are in the world, depends on how it's viewed. So like in India, it would have a head of an elephant, or in the Middle East, it's a lion or a bird of prey, numerous heads of reptiles such as serpents, and their body colour changes from red, green, black, yellow, blue, white dragons. I mean, you know, the colour mythology is there too. I mean, again, built up through a whole, depending on culture, depends on, you know, what you assume or your mind imagines dragons to be. And this has sort of been taken forward in the sci-fi world. You know what I mean? All these different mythologies sort of come together to create a specific image in your mind for dragons.
Yeah.
And zoologist Carl Schucker describes a wide variety of dragons in his book, including giant snakes, hydras, gargoyles. He includes dragon gods, as well as some of the more obscure variants such as basilisks, wyverns, and I don't even know what a cockatrice is.
I have no idea.
Never heard of that one before. The dragon, whatever else it might be, is clearly a chameleon, and it features adapt to the cultural and literary expectations of the era as well. So as you go through history, you can see like almost like an evolution of the imagination of dragons?
Yeah, I can.
Can't you?
Yeah, you can.
It is incredibly weird. Now, dragons, even to this very day, dragons capture the public's imagination. And so I talked about a book that I first read years and years ago when I was a child, which was the Anne McCaffrey books, The Dragons of Pan. But even today, 2010, for example, How to Train Your Dragon.
I remember this.
Just think recently, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
There are, she is amazing, that woman.
Yeah, Mother of Dragons.
She's the mother of dragons. And even in The Hobbit.
Yeah.
There's, I know that was written a long time ago, but the most recent movie. And don't forget, people still play games like Dungeons and Dragons.
That is actually a really big thing.
It's huge.
It's a huge thing. I mean, people spend hours and hours building up those games and play them for years and years and have groups, and it's a really big thing.
It is an absolutely huge thing. I didn't realise how big Dungeons and Dragons were. To
Really?
be honest with you, the game that's played. I mean, I was being told that one campaign, because they call different games campaigns. I don't know. I'm starting to have a whole education on Dungeons and Dragons at the moment, believe it or not. And one campaign can take days, weeks.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean, to play? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's
We
leave that.
actually had a shop in town that was dedicated just to that.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's there. I'll need to check.
The most popular game in Dungeons and Dragons actually describes more than a dozen varieties of dragons. Each have a unique personality, different powers, and other characteristics. So, for example, like the black dragons are fond of eels. They have to eat eels, apparently. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
Now, the word dragon comes from the ancient Greek word drakonta, meaning to watch. We talked about that a little bit earlier in the show, and suggests that the beast guards valuables. Now, dragons typically guard treasures such as mountains of gold, coins, gems, and, it's powerful. It's a hugely powerful symbol. But why would a dragon want to collect that? I mean, God, it doesn't really need to, does it? But I suppose it just likes pretty things.
Maybe.
So it's sort of symbolic of treasure. So to kill the dragon, you get the booty,
Yeah, exactly.
I suppose. I don't know. I don't think I would want to kill a dragon if there was one, no.
No,
But then I've got a nice view of dragons, so that's probably why.
It depends if they're killing people or not.
Well, yeah, if they want virgins for their breakfast, I suppose it would be a bit more of an issue, wouldn't it? Mind you?
Yeah.
I think they'd have hard push to find a virgin these days. Sorry, that was really nasty comment. No, they don't exist for their own sake. They exist largely as a foil for bold adventurers, really. Other mythical beasts, such as trolls, elves and fairies, interact with people, but dragons don't tend to generally interact. They interact with one person who goes looking for said dragon rather than communities or a more accessible interaction.
Okay.
Do you think that could be why?
Maybe. See, my thing is, I mean, with the whole dragon imagery is that it's either protecting treasure. That's the way they're just depicted. It's always protecting something that you shouldn't be near. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're kind of on their own protecting something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It is funny, isn't it, how they are different cultures view them in completely different ways. Yeah. I mean, we're going to go on in a second to talk about Chinese mythology in regard to dragons. So before that, I'm just going to play a quick break, and we'll be joining you right back after this.
Hello, Harry Price here. Good evening. If there's nothing myself and everybody else enjoy here on the other side more is the sit back and relax and listen to Parasearch Radio with its paranormal news, views and reviews from across the UK and beyond. Make sure to find out more about them on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web, whatever they are, to keep up to date with all their broadcasts throughout the week. And I hope you enjoy them as much as we do over here. Hello? Is anybody there?
Welcome back. You're listening to the Dark Mirror Show. My name is Kerry Greenaway. Tonight we're talking about dragons, and I'm joined in the studio by Caz and now by Mark Manley. Good evening, Mark. How are you tonight?
I'm not too bad, thank you very much. Sorry for the delay. I had to drop little person off at the train station.
You absolutely disgraceful. That's all I can say.
All about the puppy.
Late for your show.
Well, I did tell you. It's not like I did, didn't just get drunk with my sister.
Caz did say this at the head of the show. She says she thinks that you're getting her back for actually falling off the wagon last weekend.
Falling off the wagon. She didn't fall off the wagon. She climbed in it. She pinched the keys out of somebody's pocket, climbed in it, turned the engine over, grabbed it as fast as she could and drove it off Holyhead.
She certainly did that. Now, we're going to go on. We're talking about dragons tonight. We've covered Sumerian, we've covered Greek mythology, we've looked at a little bit of the Christianity, we've talked a little bit about myths and legends surrounding, modern day dragons. And we're going to go on to Chinese dragons, because these feature hugely in the Chinese world, don't they?
Yeah, but there's one form of dragon you haven't covered yet.
Which is?
Mother-in-laws.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No comment is all I can say on that one.
No.
Oh, dearie me. Anyway, yes, Chinese dragons. I was born in Hong Kong. I have Chinese dragons up my arm, one for love and luck and health, and the other one is for strength, as you know, when Chinese writing, and God knows what else on the arms. So, yes, I do like them.
They are, and they're viewed a lot more benevolently in China than in most cultures, in all honesty, aren't they?
Dragons were sent by the gods, and the dragons live on the Jade Mountain with the Jade Emperor, and they're his guardians and his helpers, and they're also venerable ancestors as well, with some people.
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised. I mean, I knew they were very, very important in Chinese culture, and they're seen as very lucky and very good. They're very, very different to the perception in the Western cultures of being evil, dangerous, you must vanquish said dragon. They are viewed incredibly differently in China.
The emperors, they believe. Well, it's like the Egyptians. Pharaoh said, "Oh, we are the son of God. We are God incarnate." Same sort of thing. The Chinese emperors, going back to the Wu Dynasty, as far as I remember, they all the emperors claimed that they were the sons of dragons. So you'd have one emperor who was a dragon, and the next one was, I'm the son of the dragon, and so on and so on and so on. I think they're actually trying to say, I'm the son of that mother-in-law over there, but saying it very quietly.
Now, at that time, the ordinary people weren't actually allowed to have pictures of dragons on them, were they?
They weren't allowed those whatsoever. Because it was basically, I said that was for the upper caste, not for the lower caste.
Yeah. Now, as I said, dragons are symbolic of being lucky, portentous, powerful, noble, and not as monsters, which is absolutely popular. Now, they are one of the signs of the zodiac in China as well, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, you've got everything.
Like the year of the dragon, isn't there? And that's a highly pretentious, when you look at the different years, the rat, the dog, the rooster, all that. When you have a year of the dragon, it's more special, isn't it?
I think, if I remember rightly, Taylor's a dragon.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
Well, what are you, Caz?
I don't know.
Sporran? What?
I'm a rooster.
Believe it or not, I'm a water rat.
Oh, yeah.
Water rat.
It's hardly surprising. I kind of crow things from the rooftops, don't I? So, yeah. Now, because it was such a powerful symbol, the dragon, very strong people like to have dragon tattoos on their arms, legs, backs and chests. It is Yeah, when you look at tattoos, they are one of the most used symbols, I think, in tattooism. Is tattooism a word?
The tattoo culture.
And the tattoo culture.
Yes. Well, I have a few, as you know, and they're the Chinese ones. They're not European ones.
And so they're incredibly powerful. A symbol. Now, the Chinese dragons seem to have more longer bodies like snakes and sharp claws like hawks. They're very less. They look a lot less like the Western dragons that we're used to, aren't they?
They're what, in our culture, we would call serpents, legend of the serpents. And then when you look at like the Mongolian culture, if you look into the legend stories, European adventurers, how dare you, and settlers going to Mongolia, they would report back about serpents, not dragons, they would say about the huge serpents. And they were basically getting their stories mixed up.
Yeah. And even in the martial arts world, you think of famous movie stars like Jackie Chan. He's known as Become Dragon. His name is Become Dragon. And Bruce Lee was known as the Little Dragon.
And when I was running my martial arts clubs all over Somerset, my children's club was called the Little Dragons.
It just goes to show, doesn't it, how incredibly powerful a symbol in China it is. It goes through all parts of their mythology and their culture, even to this day.
Well, it all goes, it all, like I say, everything with the Chinese culture, it all stems back to the Jade Emperor. The Jade Emperor and the Monkey King. And the Monkey King was booted out of heaven, as you know, for stealing peaches, and he caused lots of trouble, and he started having rucks with dragons and everything. So, yeah.
Wow. Now, the Chinese dragon has transformed from an imaginary prodigy to a mascot, even like we've said, even to this day. And it represents the Chinese people's unrelenting and pioneering of spirit. And it definitely keeps pace with the times, even in this day and age. Now, even abroad, even when the Chinese people started moving abroad, it became a symbol of China and Chinese culture. You've only got to think about, your local takeaway or something like that. They've always got a dragon, a Chinese dragon symbolism somewhere on their menu or in their shop or in their restaurant or somewhere like that. And it is very symbolic of the sovereignty of emperors. I couldn't really say that word.
Have you had a drink tonight? Have you not had a drink tonight?
No, I haven't. I am actually cold stone sober tonight.
You need
and everything that relates to it. And it was exclusive for emperors in the Chinese feudal society. The ancient emperors called their sons seats of dragons, and their robes were dragon robes, and their chairs were called dragon chairs. Oh, that's cool. I need a dragon chair. I want a dragon chair.
He also had a dragon guard, a personal guard.
When you enter the Forbidden City, you can see the elements of Chinese dragons nearly just about everywhere. The 9 sons of the dragon are on the golden roof, on the stone floor, the imperial chair decoration, wood sculptures on pillars, handrails, just about everywhere. That is, to be fair, that is one place I want to go to.
I want to go back. I've said that's on my bucket list, and I would love to go back there one day. I want to go to Hong Kong, and I want to go and have a look in mainland China as well. Because if you look at the corners of pagodas, look at the very corner bit, you'll see that they all turn up, and they're very snake-like. They're actually based on dragons. They're the guardians of the house, and they're good luck, and they look after the house.
Yeah. I have to say, I much prefer the Chinese viewpoint of dragons than I do the Western.
That's the one that's just, kid!
However, there is a huge spiritual side to dragons. In this day and age, in the metaphysical world, there is a huge spiritual meaning of dragons. I spoke to Cheryl McGregor a few weeks ago, and she links in incredibly with dragon energy. And we were talking a little bit about that on the Spirit Dimension show. So, guys, if you missed that, you can catch up with that show on podcast. And, they all link to elements as well.
Yeah. All the Chinese zodiac does link to elements. But I don't know a lot about this dragon energy. Is it anything to do with chi or anything like that?
It's basically it's a personification of a specific energy that comes to you in form of dragon, in the form of a dragon. So they're almost like elementals.
Okay, I've not tried that one. I thought I knew quite a lot about that sort of thing. So obviously I don't.
You need to listen to the show with Cheryl because she's much more an authority on this than I am. Now, spiritual dragon meanings, they link to the various elements. So you've got fire, air, water, earth, and I do believe there's spirit dragons as well. So it links to the 5 elements. Now, fire dragons are all, obviously, they're all linked to volcanoes and mountains and stuff like that, and they're good psychic protectors, but they're a really good ally to have on a psychic front, because what they'll do is they'll help to protect you and deflect the negative energy away.
Okay.
And they tend to this is where colour comes in as well. They tend to be red and yellow.
Yes, they do.
From my understanding, I could be completely wrong because I've not really had a chance to connect individually with dragon energy. I've worked on a dragon grid recently for a lady that does dragon healing, and listening to her. This is something actually from a personal point of view I would like to work more with, because I worked with that particular grid that I made for this lady. The energy was absolutely astonishing working with dragon energy, but I didn't get like a specific dragon come to me, as it were. It just felt like a collective, and this is another thing. You don't get, like, from what I understand, you don't get just like 1 or 2 come to you. You'll get different ones for different things come to you. So they're more of a tribe. I kind of.
Where did this come from?
I actually think that where it comes from is elemental. It's got to be elemental energy.
Because I'd be very intrigued to find out where it all came from and how it started, and where the whole mythos of it, where it came from, because it does sound very Eastern oriented.
It wouldn't surprise me if that's where the basis of this came from, because when we were looking at Chinese mythology and we were looking at, then I started looking at the Western spiritual mythology, there were a lot of, parallels, I think is the word, parallels is better. So whether or not it has evolved from Eastern mythology, I don't know. But all I know is that I know people that work with dragon energy, and it is incredibly astonishing at how powerful these are. And they look incredibly into earth energy and ley lines and working with the earth and that kind of thing. And it's, when you talk to people who work with dragon energy, they seem to have more of a power and passion about that side of things than other kinds of healing work that you can do, because it is more in tune with earth energies. Even when you talk to people that work with, we talk about fairies and unicorns and stuff like that, they feel very, and I don't mean any disrespect to anybody listening, they feel a lot more fluffy than when you're working with dragon energy. It definitely has that power to it. Really, that power to it.
This is very, very true. And I've just been looking in the chat room, and as James, hi everybody in the chat room, sorry, and as James said, never-ending story. The trail!
That was just like a flying dog,
awesome
though,
dragon.
surely.
Yes, flying dog, that's Chinese party.
Kind of.
And also, as Cheryl said, the dragons were in Norse mythology as well. I'm sure there's a dragon supposedly in Ragnarok as well, isn't there?
In where, sorry?
Ragnarok. Norse mythology end times.
I can't really say a lot about that, because the only thing I know about Ragnarok is a film I've seen recently, so I daren't comment on that one. I don't think that's true to form or historical reference points at all in any way, shape or form.
Well,
not really.
I'll let you get on with it. I shall sit back here and think, my God, she's being a bloody dragon tonight. You carry on.
I don't know. I'm asking you, because I don't know really anything about Norse mythology at all.
There's also another thing that James pointed out, and this is very, 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 very true. Comets and asteroids and stuff, they thought it was dragons, but it was actually the Chinese astronomers who were the ones who went, oh, look, dragon! And they didn't. I will say one thing. I'll give the Chinese astrologers their due. When they looked up and saw those lights in the sky, they didn't go, aliens! They said dragons. So there you go.
Oh, God, you had to get it in there, didn't you?
I did. I wouldn't let it lie. I got it in.
Oh, I was thinking we were safe this week.
Oh, no.
Anyway, fire dragons. We were talking about fire dragons. Now, they are also really, really good at offering wisdom and boosting energy levels. So if you need a bit of boost in your creativity or in your energy levels, then call on your fire dragons. Now, earth dragons are underneath the earth kind of dragons. So they live in hills or mountain cores. And they're really good at ley line, working with ley lines, apparently.
Yeah, I can see that. One thing that I find slightly disturbing is the report that dragons are becoming active again on Earth, and many are returning to locations such as here in the UK after many years of being in hiding. Explain.
Why do you think that is, though, Mark? I want to bring this in. Why do you think that is?
Probably because the Earth's going in a handbasket.
Exactly.
So
These kind of energies are rising again because awareness is starting to hit in. I'm going to get quite passionate, a little my soapbox moment here.
Oh, I completely agree.
The earth is needing this, and it's bringing forward these powerful energies. So people that work with these energies have the power within them to link into these energies to help the planet, to help the earth with alongside these energies, because it's not just us. We are so as a race. I'm going to get right on my soapbox. And
we're right.
I was talking to Kat Wilson last Sunday, and we were both of the same mind on this one. We are so draining our world of resources. It needs this energy. It needs this healing. It needs this awareness. And it's starting to happen more and more and more. And the everyday person is starting to become more aware of their power. And the more people that wake up and realise that we are the ones that actually have the power, not the powers that be in Parliament or in government. We are the people that have that power to heal this world with our choices and the way we go forward by using these energies that are coming forward and raising is honestly, it's happening.
I totally agree with that, because at the end of the day, the whole reason the Earth's going like this is because of governments and money and religion. But what do you reckon to dragons? You know, I've always said I think that for any legend or myth, there had to be something to start it. What say you to, like, when the Earth was new, there was something, a dragon, a kin, guardians, whatever, some type of energy form that helped heal the Earth and everything when it was all molten lava and stuff, went to sleep, and now they're coming back again.
Well, I don't honestly know. I do think back in the day, we were a lot more linked to the other realms that are around us. I'm not talking alien realms. I'm talking about, the elemental and earth energy links that people now forget. They don't see what you feel. Do you know what I mean? They shut themselves off. I think since major religion kicked in, I think people's minds closed down and shut down. And I think that awareness is now reopening up. People are turning away. They're looking for faith, for trust, for honesty, for loyalty. And those things are things that you don't tend to find in teachings. Yes, it preaches it, but it doesn't live it. Whereas when you walk out into the country, you feel the earth energy and you know yourself. You know what you feel. And people are starting to understand this now more. And I think back in the day, when all these myths and legends first started, they were a lot more in tune with earth energy. And I think that's where these myths and legends came from. They were they were contacting these other realms, these other entities. And as time moved on, it became myth and legend. And, cultures changed and control came in and stuff like that. And we lost touch with that. Whereas I think now there is a movement forward now into getting in touch with those kind of things again now. And that's why you've got this resurgence of these energies coming forward, because people are connecting with them in a way that they haven't done before. And I think that's incredibly important. That's why all the older religions are coming more forward, like, even down to Wicca, paganism, all those kind of things. Yes, they're not linking in specifically necessarily with dragon energy, but they're linking in with earth energy and using your energy and your intention and your manifestation abilities to help on a natural level, rather than it being a pill, that would just cover up the symptoms rather than deal with the underlying symptoms. And these things are really important, and this is where dragon energy comes into so much important in the metaphysical world, at least, because it is one of those most powerful. These are incredibly powerful energies. We're not just talking like the fluff zone, we're talking like the next deeper, more powerful level of energy that you can work with. And when people touch on these, the results that they're getting from them is absolutely astonishing. Talk to a lot of people in the metaphysical world, and it is incredible. I know, right? Little soapbox moment. Sorry, guys. This is where I work.
That's all right. You carry on. You carry on. We're all sat back. I'll tell you what. I totally agree. You have your intuitive. You have gifts. I know Caz has gifts, and I use chi. So I know, and Caz knows, and yourself knows, and anybody else out there in listener land who has gifts or uses energy in any form, they know you're talking absolute truth. You know, it's out there. It needs to be done, and the earth does need to be healed because people are just being ignorant at the moment.
But with these energies, you yourself have to take a responsibility. You yourself have to be prepared to work with these powerful energies, because these ain't fluffy energies that you're dealing with. You know,
No.
they aren't fluff. These are powerful energies, and it's working, you know, getting yourself in a spiritual way attuned to be able to cope and to work these energies that will drive the world forward, you know, the energy of the world forward, and heal what we need to heal and put right what we've put wrong.
It's also
going right back to the Sumerian legend right at the beginning of the show, where he killed Kerr the dragon and caused all the waters. If you remember that, he had to put that right.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do now as a race. We need to put right the wrongs that we've done on this planet. Dragon energy is one of the energies that you can use. I've gone right spiritual on this one.
Can we talk now?
Sorry. I'm sitting back.
Are you talking about Gilgamesh and Enkidu?
No. You're talking about
You're not talking about the Gilgamesh show. Yeah, the Gilgamesh saga.
Oh yes, sorry. Yes, it is that was part of it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Ninurta, that was his name. He ended up having to put stones over the dead body of Kerr, and then piled them up until he had this great wall in front of the land. The wall blocked and held back the raging primeval waters that were released once Kerr was killed. That was just one of the stories out of that. So, you know, he had to put right what he did wrong by killing said Kerr dragon. Now, that is really where we're at today. We've almost come like a full circle. We need to use these powerful elemental earth energies, whether or not they be dragons, whether or not they be the actual energy lines within the earth. Sorry, I'm getting on my soapbox again.
Right. Can I ask you, this is going to sound really, really strange. You felt it when I used chi, yeah? Yeah. You felt it when I've used chi and we've been doing a human pendulum. Mm-hmm. Which hand do I produce the chi from?
Both.
What's the main one I use?
You're right.
My left.
Oh, right.
Which is the one that has the dragons on.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you reckon that helps, or do you reckon?
I think that depends on your personal belief in regards to dragons. You've put them on your body for a reason, haven't you?
Yeah.
And they obviously are very symbolic for you specifically.
They mean a lot to me, and when I use chi, it's always it's the it was the Tai Chi Chuan, so it's the Chinese side of it that I got taught. So it may all be to do with that, but I definitely believe in dragons. I believe in the ancient form of dragons anyway, you know, the energy form and living under the hills, ley lines. I think that's where Tolkien got his idea for I can't remember what the dragon's called, but the one that lived under the hills, Smaug, lives under the hills, and European legends had them living under the hills, guarding the gold. That's because they were under the hills in the volcanoes, living on the ley lines.
But we have also talked about your, going back to you personally, we've also talked about your own personal meridians. Now, I don't know if people out there are aware, but Mark has a disability. He has on his left side just 3 fingers on your hand, haven't you?
Oh, I've got 5 fingers on my left side.
Right. Oh, whatever side it is, I lose track. I lose track. But anyway, one of your hands isn't quite the same as the other, is it?
And I've got one foot missing, and I've got a little hand on my right hand side that's a little bit messed up. It's all the right hand side. Yeah.
Yeah, on your right side, it's all a bit messy, isn't it? So we have talked about your personal meridians, and in regard to how you work, and I said they're still there. It's just you haven't. But it's almost like that mental block you've put in because of your physicality, whereas we're working through that to get your meridians on even on both sides. My question to you then is, you have dragons on one side but not on the other. Why? Why not even those meridians out?
I have a phoenix on this side now, and I'm hoping that does help.
Have you tried it recently?
I have found, and this is going to sound absolutely bizarre, since we last talked, when you got me drunk and ravaged me around your place. Well, when we had that long chat, and you said to me to start practicing with it, I have, and since I've had the Phoenix done, as bizarre as it's going to sound, I can get it into this hand now. I never used to be able to get it whatsoever, but I can, for those who use chi, you'll know what I mean when I say you get the tingling in the fingertips. I can get it in, like, the palm of my hand and up that side there. I can get it there, and then I can start to play with the ball and make it bigger and smaller. And it's helped a lot. But it's since we chatted and since I had the Phoenix done, I have no idea what.
Yeah, but this is what I'm talking about. This is working with your internal power to get yourself ready to work with external dragon energy power. Because you have to be ready to deal with that. As Cheryl in the chat room has said, there's nothing at all fluffy about dragon energy. If you're working spiritually, it is not something to be taken lightly. You get your backside
never be a dragon
when you work
fluffer
with that energy. She says on a regular basis.
Never be a dragon fluffer either, because you'll burn yourself badly.
Oh, they tell you. So spiritually for yourself, you have to be incredibly ready to work with these energies. Now, we have come to the end of the show. It's I went right on my soapbox at the end. Poor old Caz didn't get off. I know, it's because I came in late, Mark. I'm sorry, Caz.
Caz, just next time, just turn around and say, Kerry, shut the flip up.
People do have to tell me to shut up on occasions.
Put the camera on and you go, shh. No, Austin Powers, shh, shh, shh. I got a whole bag of shh with your name on it. Yeah?
Particularly on a spiritual front, I do tend to get on my little soapbox. So, guys, if you did miss that show that I did with Cheryl McGregor, she, like I said, she works with this kind of energy on a spiritual front on a regular basis. That was an amazing show. Listen to that one. And if you want to listen to more about working with earth energies, have a listen to the show I did with Kat Wilson last Sunday, because me and Kat went on a little soapbox about that kind of thing as well. So definitely have a listen to those kind of shows. Now, on Sunday evening, I am talking to the amazing Philip Hermit about crystal gridding, which
MC Hammer.
Pardon?
MC Hammer.
What are you talking about?
You say MC Hammer.
No, Philip Hermit.
Oh, I thought you said hammer, and I was just about to say, when you do crystals, are you going to be wearing big trousers and this, that, and the other? And then every time you try to touch your crystals, we're going to say, you can't touch that.
Oh, God. No, it's more like him telling me that I can't touch that. So tune in 9 p.m. Sunday evening for Crystal Gridding with Philip Hermit. We're going to be discussing his new book on the subject. And on that note, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you so much for joining us in the chat room. It's been an education as always. And we've only covered, again, the outskirts of dragons, but we will decide what we're going to talk about next week very soon.
Can I just say to everybody listening, sorry to butt in, can I just say to everybody listening, please don't be scared, don't take anything we've said in this show, to heart, because, dragons, are they a myth? Are they not? They can't hurt you. It's only the mother-in-laws you've got to worry about.
Oh my God.
Can I say something as well?
Of course you can, Caz.
Right, just remember I'm not here next Friday.
Oh
my
God.
The Ancient Ramen.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The Ancient Ramen.
Yeah, you're out investigating.
Yeah. Have to come over.
So.
Oh my God, he's trying to sort out a social life. Anyway, on that note, we'll bid you all a very farewell. Thanks for listening. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. And we will be back with you next Friday. Good evening, everybody, and good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.